Hello and welcome to my channel. Thank you for coming. Today I'm going to be making tags to go into journals or whatever you want to use them for. And I'm using a few different techniques. So that would include watercolor, which I have right here. I'll be using some colors from my watercolor palette. I'm also using glue, of course, and stamps and glitter. So follow along and I'll show you some different techniques that I think you're going to like. Now to begin with, I went to a stationery store and bought some shipping tags. I just bought a whole box of them because I was surprised how inexpensive they were, and there's lots that you can do with them. Now you can make your own for journaling or whatever you like, but you don't have to because, hello, this is available. I'm just going to put my glue over there so I don't accidentally put watercolor in it. So there are different ways you can use watercolor, and I'm just going to use paint to start with. And I'm choosing what kind of brush? I think I'm going to use a bigger brush because I just want to paint all over. So I'm using this brush. Just get the stiffness out of it and get the bubbles out of it. And then I'm going to go with quite a dazzling blue. This is a turquoise mix. And I'm just going to paint, make sure there's no fuzzies on there. I'm just going to paint across it like this. Now this is not watercolor paper, obviously, so it won't behave properly as far as that goes. But that doesn't really matter. It does repel the paint sometimes, and it's quite smooth, so it kind of pours off like this. It will make your paper curl. So I'm going to just absorb off this big drip on the bottom corner. It's going to give me some interesting effects. And that's okay. I'm going to just leave it to dry. Now, what I could do is get out my hairdryer and dry it, but I'm going to get a watermark here because I must have touched that with my finger, and that's okay. Watermarks can actually be very attractive, so we won't worry about that. Now, another one I'm going to do is with a spray, and what I did was I took some calligraphy ink. And I bought these little bottles at the dollar store, which were cheap, of course. And I got some calligraphy ink and I just mixed it in water so that it's a fairly strong solution, enough to show color. And I'm just going to spray this. So this is a different effect that you can get with the spray. Now I'm going to do one more like this because I found there's another look that you can get, and I have a blue one which I also did with calligraphy ink. Now you can use watercolor, just mix it really strongly, and I did that too with a different color, which I put in a big spray bottle to do a bigger project. It does, depending on the watercolor, it will settle because some of them are pigments and some of them are stains, whereas with ink they're all just stain. Which means, of course, they will stain, but what you want to do is stain your paper anyway. So here's another way you can do it. So I've raised on this one I held my hand up quite high, so you get a splatter effect, but you can also put it down lower. And then you can get an effect something like this, which is one that I did earlier. So I'm going to leave this to dry as well. This one is still a bit damp. This one is just about dry because there's hardly any moisture on it. And this one I will move over here so that it can dry. And then I think that's probably all I'm going to be doing with paints. So I'm just going to move, I'll take that there, thinking out loud, I'm going to move this out of my way and allow those pieces to dry. This one is not quite dry, so I'm going to put it over there as well. Now, I mentioned earlier that you can create your own little tags. And the fun thing about that is that you can make them any size you want. So I have this pretty pink paper, and I'm going to make it a similar size. I'm just going to try this. A similar size to, you know, the normal shipping label. But you can make them long and slim. You can make them short and wide. You can just do whatever you want. In fact, I'll make it just a little bit wider and cut it. Put this in my scrap bag or bin over there. And I'm going to make it shorter as well. I don't really want it to be that long. But first, there's always a but first. I've decided to use this piece as a piece of ephemera, so I don't really want to make it very much shorter than this. In fact, I think I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to leave it this long. And the nice thing about this piece is it has kind of like a canvas or fabric weave look on it. So I'll just put that away. And I'm going to also cut the corners rounded, but I'm going to get to that in a few minutes. I decided to use a little bit of this on it as well because I love the piece of paper. And I don't really want to take it out of my pad because then I've got little pieces hanging around all over the place. But what I'm going to do is just tear it. Hopefully fairly straight, obviously not. I'm going to tear it all along the bottom here. I love the gingham look, and I think it adds a lot. Now, the thing about this is it's actually wider than I want it to be. So I can either tear it again, narrower, or I can cut this off. And I think I'll cut it off because then I'll have a straight piece that I can use elsewhere. So when I measure it, I want it to be, I think I want it to be just at this mark here. So I'll mark that and then cut that piece, making sure that it's pretty even all the way down. Trouble with cutting little pieces like this is that they tend to scoot away when you move your hand. So I'll just hold it down. There, I think that'll work. It's quite a heavy paper as well. So this will go into my scraps too. And then I've got this one to use for my piece of pink here. Now I want to have a piece of glue on, and I was actually, as you can tell, spraying on this earlier. I tend to get an idea and just kind of use what's right in front of me, and then I have to adjust my plans. So I'm just going to use a glue stick on this, kind of guessing at how long it is, maybe a little bit longer. And we want it right up to the top. I want to line it up right, basically perfectly, so I don't have to trim it. So there's that. And just trim off the bottom like that. So we don't need this little piece. And now I'm going to use this one along here. I feel like it kind of needs something else though. I wonder what else I could put on it. Like that. And I just had that sitting here. What I did was I I made some of these with some little stamps I have, and I'll show you how one of these days. And then I cut them all out. I used the masterboard that I did a few weeks ago in my video, so if you want to look at that one, you can see how that was done. And then I photocopied it, and then I stamped it with these tag stamps that I bought, and let them dry and cut them out. So this is going to go here, and it was cut with a CRICUT machine, which is why it's like the fine detail was cut. I would not even attempt to do this by hand. Just going to get a couple of little pieces here that didn't come out. And because they're so fine, you want to make sure to glue right over them, like that, so that all those little edges will be stuck down on your base paper, whatever that is. This one is from my own flower and twig embellishments kit, which is available on my website at Summer Bay Studio. I want that to come down just a shade. Kind of go right up the middle. I like a little bit of asymmetrical look. That little, oh, there's a little piece that got missed there. Sometimes these glue sticks are kind of dry, I find, and they go over the paper and it doesn't seem to really deposit anything. I've been cutting out all kinds of ephemera by hand because I have a project in mind that will probably be in my next video. So there's that, and I'm going to make a hole in it. I'm just kind of guessing the middle here. So there's one tag. Now I feel like it needs something, and I have these little pieces that I took off an old birthday card. So I think one of these would be nice. Wow, that one's really a good match. Yeah, the butterfly definitely. And for that, I'm going to use this tacky glue, which I keep upside down because it's a slow-moving glue. So it's nice to have it ready when you need it. Let's see, come on, I'll just turn this around. Pop that on there. And just leave it to dry. So there's one of our tags, and I think that's really pretty. I like that one. So I'll just move that one to the side, and then we can go back to some of our others. Now, the ones that I had drying, I'm just going to grab. So this is the watercolor one. It is still a little bit damp, and not so damp that my fingers do anything to it, but it's a little bit damp. And I'm going to work on it anyway, because when I add what I'm going to add, it's going to be dampened again. And let me see, where are things? Actually, no, I'm going to wait on that one, and I'm going to do this one. I can feel just a little bit of dampness about it. And I'm going to turn this over so that stuff doesn't stick in it. And on this one, now with this glue, what I did was I took some of this clear tacky glue, Aline's Original, and poured it into the jar, and then I added, I think it's about half and half, or 2/3 glue and 1/3 water, something like that, just so that it's spreadable. And I do have a cover on it because I was using it earlier today. And what I've done is I'm taking this big poofy brush, and I'm just going to paint this glue over it. So like I said, there's a lot of water in this glue already. I don't want it too gloppy. But I want it to be completely covered. And I'm going to do something that's a little bit unconventional in the current junk journal world, and that is I'm using glitter. Because for one thing, I love glitter. Now, I have bought these things, these little jars at the dollar store. The glitter itself came in little packets, which are, pretty much useless to use. So I bought the jars to keep it in, and I just want to put a tiny bit in my hand and then sprinkle it on the same way you would put a pinch of salt in soup, or if you're baking or whatever. I'm just doing it kind of randomly. I'm not trying to do it evenly at all. In fact, I'm quite fine if it ends up in just kind of here and there spots. So this is kind of an old gold. And I have lots of other colors too, which I'll be working with again in a minute. And then I've got this kind of mica silver. It's not a real bright silver. And I'm just doing the same, maybe filling in a few of those spots so that you can tell where the gold is and where the silver is. Put maybe a little bit more over here. A little bit more over here. All right. And now I can just put it back in to the little jar. It doesn't leave a whole lot on my hands, just a bit. And who doesn't like to sparkle a bit? I can just brush that off onto my piece as well. So now this is not finished, but it does take a while to dry. So I'm going to just move it over to my drying paper and let it sit there for a while. And I did one earlier, and this is what I did with this one was I painted it with watercolor this way instead of this way. And once it was good and dry, I used the glue, and I used two colors, or actually three colors of glitter. I used, I think, these three, and just sprinkled them around the same way I did with the gold and silver. And now what I want to do with this one is I'm going to just dump the glitter off my paper. Like that. See how we're doing here. This one's just about dry. We're going to leave that one how it is. Now with this one, I wanted to add a stamp. So I'm all about mixing techniques and ideas and whatever. So I've got this paper. I pulled out some scraps of sort of color coordinating paper, and I'm going to use this bunny. I think, yeah, I want that bunny. So I'm going to use the bunny stamp, and I got these from a magazine. There's a couple of English craft magazines that give you all these stamps. I mean, the magazines are, $15 or $20. Some are more. But you get all these stamps, and when you kind of go, well, if I bought them separately, it would cost me a whole lot more. Then it makes sense to get the magazine too. So I just put this on my little acrylic, and I'm going to use black. I do have blue, but I want this to really stand out. And this is just an old, well, it's new, but it's the old style of stamp pad. So I want to get lots on there. It's quite a juicy one, actually. And then I'm going to press it here. And somebody said you should hold them for a minute so the paper has a chance to just absorb some of the glue or the ink. And that seemed like a good idea to me because sometimes it's a bit sketchy. That's perfect. It's perfect. It even all came off the stamp itself. So we'll just move all that aside for now. And I want this to be quite dry because ink, as you know, can smear, and we don't want that. So this one is going with this one. Now, here's one that I did before. And what I did was I took one of these things. I took a page out of an old book like this. This is from the altered book journal that I've been working on. So I just glued it on very solidly. I used the tacky glue and I spread it around with a little thing like this, a little spatula. But you could also use this glue and just make sure it's glued really well all over. And then I cut it out. And so now it's thicker, and I'm going to paint on it. So I'm just getting out my watercolors again, and I'll show you what I have in mind. I thought I would do some flowers in pink and red with some green leaves, and I'm just leaving this blue so that it'll dry because I can always use it again. It's still paint. I'm just going to draw something with it. This is a 2H pencil, which is quite a hard one, so therefore it's very light. And I'm going to this is just to give me an idea where my flower is going to go. I'll put a big center there. And then some leaves that come out this way. And then I know where to paint. You can always paint freehand if you're good at it, or if you feel confident. That's fine too. I'm going to use this brush and get some pink going. I love pinks, so I quite often use them. Now, one thing you can do is actually ink around this. So then you've got an ink drawing and you can put the paint in it. And that's called ink and wash. And I actually really love that look, but today I'm just keeping it quite simple. It's kind of a lumpy flower. And I want to work fast because I want to show you how easy it is to actually paint a flower. Now I'm taking a little bit of darker paint and just going in around the center to give it a little bit of dimension, just dotting it in like that. And then I'll let that dry. And I'm going to use spring green, which is, well, actually it's called permanent yellow green, but to me it looks like spring. So I'm just going to go up like this. And I will leave the line in the center so that you can tell that it's the center of the leaf. You can paint the leaf from either direction. Let's pick up a little more paint. And keep in mind also that this paper does not act like watercolor paper. So it's always a good idea to try it first. There's my flower, and I'm going to now put a yellow center in it. Now this is still wet, so if the yellow touches that wet paint, it's going to bleed into it, kind of like crazy. So I'm going to try not to touch it, and that way the print of the book shows through a little bit too, and some pencil lines, because I want this to look really sketchy. So you can see just there that it has started to bleed into it. So what I'm going to do is take this makeup swab and just dry that spot, and that's all there is to it. Now I can add something to this, and I think that would be kind of nice. So I'm going to look at some of my ephemera odds and ends and maybe put a little something. I don't think I want writing because it would probably kind of fight with what's there. Not sure I even have anything that will work. That will. I'll use one of those. I could also use a sticker. This is printed on vellum, and I don't know why it's pink. I think I printed it has a pink background or something. Anyway, okay, here are my scissors. So I'm just going to cut around this, and then put it down in that corner. And I think it's nice that it's pink because it goes nicely with the pink of the flower. Now you can make a much fancier flower than I have. And I think what I'll do is once that's dry, I'll go over it with some ink and just kind of sketch around it, and then that'll pull together the piece with the black in the background, the black here, and then the black around the flower. So I'm just using this glue stick. I could use the tacky glue, but this is handy, and we'll see. Hope it sticks. Vellum curls like mad. If you've ever used it and put glue on it, you'll know that. It's just, you get it the least bit damp with anything and it curls like crazy. So there's that. I kind of think it needs a little bit of greenery up here too, so I'm going to do that just to make it look a little more balanced. Just put a tiny leaf up here. Too much water. There. Now this can go back where it belongs. And this can wait till it's dry because the yellow is quite wet. I'm just going to pick a little bit of it up here so that the words show through a little bit better. And also it'll dry faster. So there's another one that needs to go on the drying sheet over here. And now I'm going to cut this rabbit out. So this is just fussy cutting, and I'm not trying to cut right on the lines. I'm just going a little bit beyond them, on the outside of them. In fact, I'm just going to make this easier on myself and not have to use this huge piece of paper flapping around. So these tags can be used wherever you want to, with whatever kind of project you're working on. I'll probably include them in my altered book journal or the other soft cover journal that I'm working on. I kind of go back and forth, if you've seen a few of my videos, you'll know that, just so that I can do different things and try different things. I really love trying new things. For example, what I'm doing here with the glitter today, this is something you don't often see, especially with sort of the vintage look that's popular. But there's so many kinds of looks that you can do with a journal, and I've seen some that are like sort of a grungy look, some that are themed after TV shows or book themes or Disney characters, or it's limitless really. And that's one of the things I really love about this kind of art, is that it's so limitless in what you can do with it. So this one is dry, like I mentioned. I did it previously, and now I'm going to put this little rabbit right on the front. And I love that he's stamped on printed paper, because it's just kind of fun. Now I hope this sticks, because the background is not completely flat. The answer is no, it's not going to stick at all. So we have to go with plan B. So if you do this, don't use a glue stick. The glue is too flat, so it doesn't get around the glitter, which has dimension, obviously. Oh, he's going to be good and gluey because it's got both kinds of glue on it. All right, let's try this again. I think this paper is a really good match, the stuff that the bunny's on, because it almost looks like sparkles or sequins or something like that. So it goes really well with the glitter in the background. So there's that tag. Yeah, that's really fun. See? I think it's cute. Now I'll put this away. Let me see how we're doing here. This one is almost completely dry. So I'm going to do something kind of similar. And I think I will paint it with glue and no, I'm not going to. I'm going to do a stamp on it and just keep it kind of simple. This one's cute. I craft so hard I sweat glitter. Let's try some of these. I'm going to put the rabbit back in place. Remember me saying how much water will make paper curl? You can uncurl it, and you can just do it like this, or you can drag it over an edge, and there, it's back to good again. Okay, I'm going to just tear some of this. I'm going to hang it off the end. Yeah, I want it like that. Just get this out of the way as well. And I want to distress it. I'm going to use one of these little blocks. I haven't tried this before. It works like a charm. Look at that. I should say like a prayer, because prayers work way better than charms do. But this is brilliant. I have a whole bunch of these little things and I haven't been using them. Well, that ends that. I'll be using them now. Okay, that was a success. In fact, I think it's extremely pretty. So I'm going to place this on here. Get my glue sheet back. And since I'm not gluing the whole piece down, I can kind of just put it off the end here and then cut the rest off. So I'm just trimming this part off, and this sheet of stamps was from another one of those British magazines I got at Indigo in Vancouver. So it's going to go on across the corner here. And I'm going to use this little stamp ink pad. Let's see if it'll give us a nice clear stamp. It's looking good. It's looking good. Put it just here and hold it for a minute. Put that away. And there we have it. So now I could decorate this more, but I don't think I will. I think I'm just going to leave it like that. I feel like it almost needs a little something up there, but this kind of works. So I'm going to leave that one like that. And we've got our pink one. And we've got the watercolor one, which I am going to quickly go around with ink. And I do mean quickly, because then you get that sort of sketchy look. You don't really have to, you know, be too fastidious about it. Make a little flutter there. And this defines the shape of the flower too, even though the paint is kind of all over the place. So you don't need to worry too much about the accuracy of it. There, I like it. And it's so simple. Now for this one, it's actually still wet. However, I think I can work with that because I want to do another stamp. Just pick that up. I don't want goop on my fingers. I'm just going to pick another stamp that would look really pretty, and I'm going to use this paper because it's it kind of goes with the color, and I want something that's kind of long. I think think I'm going to use this bird cage, and I'm going to use the fancier one that's more open. And I need my block. I'm just about to order a larger block and some more stamp pads. I have an ink in a darker brown, so I'm going to just ink it like this and pop it onto here. Press it down really well. Let the ink sink in. And there we have a kind of a sketchy look. I've had trouble with this particular stamp before, so I don't know if I'm not doing it right or what the deal is. But I don't mind how it looks, actually, because it allows the other stuff underneath to show through. So I'm again going to just fussy cut around this. Okay, that is still very wet, so I'm going to pop this right in the middle here. Actually, I want to make a hole in the top, so I'll do that first. See if I can get it in the center, close enough. And I'm going to center this and just lay it down into that wet glue and hope it sticks, and if it doesn't, I will pull it off and use other glue to stick it. So there are our tag projects, and they're all different. This one needs a little bit of a bend. I've used stamps, I've used watercolor, I've used glue, I've used book pages. Did I miss something? Yes, tearing paper and little ephemera from cast off or finished birthday cards and that sort of thing. So I hope you've enjoyed this. It's really been fun for me, and I hope you try some of these ideas. Don't forget, you can use glitter. It's cheap at a dollar store. This is water and calligraphy ink, which you can buy at art stores. I've got these little stamp pads, which make great distressed edges, nice and vibrant colors, lots of colors. And then there's the ink, and it's just really fun. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.